Back in 1992, Guns N' Roses would find themselves touring with Metallica, playing stadiums around North America. It was during that tour that Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash died for 8 minutes, and today, let's take a look at what happened. In Slash's self-titled 2007 autobiography, he discussed meeting his first wife, Renee Suran. She was a model who had worked campaigns all over the world for some pretty big companies and was now trying to become an actress. In his book, he would describe meeting his first wife either during 1989 or 1990 during the making of the band's Use Your Illusion records. By this point, the band was in work mode, and Slash would admit he wasn't very social, staying mostly at home and drinking and listening to records, or spending his time in the studio. It would be bassist Duff McKagan who coaxed him into coming with him one night to a bar in LA, where the pair jammed with a blues band. It was at the same bar that Duff picked up a girl who was there with a friend of hers named Renee. Renee didn't appear to show any interest in Slash, but he would write in his book, and I quote, "Any girl that was going to make my life difficult was hard to get, and that was the girl to go for in my mind. In Lemmy's infamous words, the chase is better than the catch." Within a few weeks, the pair were soon living together, and Slash would admit in his book that he liked the fact that Renee was independent and had her own life, and really had no interest in rock music or Guns N' Roses. He would reveal a typical day for the pair would be him getting up earlier than her, lying on the floor, drinking vodka and smoking cigarettes until she got up. Fast forward to the spring and summer of 1992 when Guns N' Roses were touring Europe with Faith No More and Soundgarden, and Slash would reveal by this point in time the pair had split up because he had been unfaithful to her and she had gotten wind of it. Then while the band was in England that summer, he'd call up Renee feeling lonely, wanting to reconcile, and she would fly out to see him. Slash had hoped that she would have stayed with the band on tour for that leg, but she basically gave the guitarist an ultimatum. We either get married or we're not getting back together. Slash gave in and the pair would end up getting engaged and were set to marry in October of 1992, but ahead of their nuptials, Slash wanted to protect his assets and push the idea of a prenup on her. The prenup was discussed around September 24th, 1992, according to Slash's book, when Guns N' Roses were scheduled to play Oakland with Metallica. Here's what went down according to Slash, who talked about the incident to Howard Stern during a 2001 interview.
Did you lose half of your Guns N' Roses money from the divorce?
No. I did
prenup?
Yeah, the beginning of the end is when I said sign this prenup. I remember exactly when that was.
Good.
I was in San Francisco. Guns was touring the stadiums with Metallica.
Right.
And that phone call was made that there was going to be a prenup.
Who makes that call? You
That
do?
was me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
You don't have an accountant who
and
does
that was one of the biggest fights in our entire relationship over the phone.
Really?
And
She was like, "Well, if you really love me,
but don't even get into it. You know
the drill.
I can imagine."
And so
He doesn't notice.
it stressed
I
me
wish
out.
I had known that drill.
It stressed me out so bad that after the show was over, I ran into the wrong people at the wrong time after the gig. Ended up in the hospital, messing around. Because I was so depressed from the whole argument that I ended up ODing that night.
What
Really?
did you go through with a marriage?
So then,
Wait a second.
So-
You said to your girlfriend, "Listen, I want a prenuptial agreement." She got into an argument with you, so you went out and OD'd?
basically.
Wow.
And then,
But then you got up
I had a
and
gig
married
the
her.
next.
Slash would end up collapsing in the hallway of the hotel and would be taken care of by the band's security team until the paramedics arrived. He would write in his book, "I woke up when the defibrillator sent an electric shock through my chest and stunned my heart into beating again. It was like being slapped in the face hard enough to wake you up from a deep sleep." Slash was then taken to a local hospital where he was told to stay the night for observations, admitting in his book that after a couple of hours he signed himself out and went back to the hotel, writing, "I had no remorse whatsoever about my overdose, but I was pissed off at myself for having died." It was shortly after the incident that a band meeting was called where Axl told his guitarist, "You gave me a scare. We thought you were dead. I thought I'd have to look for a new guitar player." Years later, the BBC would publish a documentary on Guns N' Roses called The Most Dangerous Band in the World. And according to A&R man Tom Zutaut, who discovered Guns N' Roses and signed the band to Geffen Records, he claimed that after the overdose that Axl thought a different Slash took over his body, revealing Axl genuinely believes the soul of Saul Hudson, Slash's legal name, left his body when Slash overdosed. That was the greatest stumbling block to getting the band back together, he would claim. Slash, for his part, would end up marrying Renee a month later, and it appeared the prenup was signed as Slash would admit to Howard Stern that an agreement had been reached during a 1995 interview. Slash would write in his book about getting married for the first time, "We definitely didn't do it small. It was this really big production that I had very little to do with. My only memories of planning it involved Renee showing me an endless number of books full of gifts to pick out. I couldn't relate to any of it, and my lack of interest made her very upset." Slash would admit in his book that ahead of getting married, Renee wanted the pair to have a co-ed bachelorette party so she could keep an eye on him. Slash, earlier in 1992, during a show in Vegas, had met the woman who would become his future second wife, Perla Farrar. Perla would show up at Slash's co-ed bachelor party. Here's what the guitarist had tell Howard Stern during a 2007 interview.
Did you have sex with an old girlfriend the night before your wedding? What happened there? Were you scared to get married? Was that it? And you just said, hey, shit, I got to get out of this thing?
The first marriage I got into was an ultimatum.
Right.
And I don't think I went in the right... I didn't go into it from the heart. And so I'd sort of dated the girl that is now my wife.
Right.
You know, not really dated, but we saw each other on occasion. And we always had a good time. And she knew that. She knew that we had sort of a connection.
Is this the wife when you were doing my movie you were hanging out with?
That's the one that I was married to then.
Right.
Yeah.
You
that
divorced
was the first
her.
one.
Yeah, I divorced
She was
her.
hot.
She was a good-looking girl. But anyway, so what happened was Perla heard that I was getting married. Actually, she came to my bachelor party,
right,
which was a co-ed bachelor party because what I was saying was I called my girlfriend up. I called my girlfriend up, who was going to be my wife,
right,
and I said, let's get back together. And she said, not unless we get married. And I was like, oh.
So you had to do it.
And so then we did it, and Perla, who'd known me from previous, came around and said, ha-ha, you know. And then somehow we ended up doing it the night before my wedding.
Beautiful.
The wedding was doomed from that point on. The marriage was doomed, you know. But I feel really bad because I actually put her through something. I'm not into hurting people's feelings for, you know, being...
Slash and Renee would end up divorcing in 1997 after 5 years of marriage. And 4 years later, he'd marry Perla, and the couple would divorce 13 years later in 2014, just before Guns N' Roses got back together. Some sources have claimed that Perla not being involved with Slash anymore because she was also his manager may have led to a Guns N' Roses reunion or had some part to play in it. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like button and subscribe. We'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.